Hey everybody, welcome back to the Miser's Guide to Evony. In this video, we're going to be looking at the General Gear Planner. This is a tool that I made approximately 2.5 years ago, and I've been updating it ever since. With the release of so many new pieces of civilization gear, there is a need to constantly update this thing, so I'm currently on version 3.0, and I have all the civilization equipment up to the new set, the Sasanian civilization set. Those pieces are technically in the spreadsheet, but you won't be able to select them, and they don't really have any values right now because we don't know what the full set is going to look like just yet. So there will be an update in the future to include more civilization pieces as they become available. I want to say a special thank you to the people in Discord that helped me find the stats for some of the pieces that I didn't have access to. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Please remember that this spreadsheet that is going to be linked in the video description and pinned comment is not something that you can edit unless you make your own copy. To make your own copy, go to File and make a copy. It might look a little different if you're doing it on a tablet or a phone, but on the computer, those are the steps that you would use to make your own copy. Before we get into a practical example of how you might use the General Gear Planner, I'm going to give you a tour of what you are seeing on your screen. Next to the picture of the General Dowager 6C, we have the weapon, armor, boots, helm, leg armor, and ring slot. To select a piece of equipment, you would just click the down arrow and choose what you are going to test. So I'm going to put a couple pieces on here. And what you're going to see as I do so is that on the right side for the unrefined equipment troop buffs, we're seeing an increase in some of the numbers there. And that's because the pieces themselves come with attributes that before you refine, they're just the gear attributes, the buffs that you get from those specific pieces of gear. You'll see that I have ranged attack of 85, ground attack, mounted attack, and some other stats. I've got some enemy troop buff reductions as well from some of the pieces, and I've got some march speed. To delete these, I just go there to the ones that I put, and I click the delete button to remove them, and you'll see that they go away. Let's see, this button down here, check the box for wall or reinforcing general. So by default, it's set to be an offensive general. So if I'm planning to make a wall general, for example, and trying to figure out what gear would best be applied to a wall general or something I'm going to use to reinforce, I'm going to want to check that, and that will actually change the values because some stats are offensive, like attacking and marching, and then some are in city. And it does take into account those differences when you are applying this checkbox or not. This tool is more for the early planning of a general, when you don't know what gear you want to put on, not even including refines or anything like that. You just want the best base stats for the setup that you have with the pieces you have available. There are a lot of resources out there that will tell you the absolute best combination of civilization gear or whatever, but that doesn't mean that you have those pieces. You need to work with what you have, and that's where this General Gear Planner is very useful. Let's say that you have unlocked the Ares weapon, helm, and leg armor, and you're trying to find out the other combinations that you could put, or if you should even use the Ares. Let's say I'm doing a ground general. I'm going to be wanting to choose gear based on what I have available or what I think I'm going to get to maximize my ground buffs. So I'm going to be looking at this column here if I'm trying to maximize my ground buffs. I'm not going to care about siege machine, ranged, or mounted if this is my offensive PvP ground general. Similarly, I might care about the enemy troop buffs, the reductions here in this column. Those are valuable as well, but mostly I'm going to be concerned with this. And it's going to be the same thing. If I'm trying to set up a siege machine general, I'm going to be caring more about these stats than anything else. We've also got the march size capacity, which is going to be valuable, and march speed and siege attack range. Like all these things are there so that you can see what kind of overall effect your combinations of gear will provide, and then you can make decisions on how you want to outfit your generals accordingly. Now, some of the things that are not included in here are the different thresholds of refining. So if you put in gear like dragon, like a dragon bow, and courageous dragon armor, and courageous dragon boots, that's great. And let's say that for some reason your stats are better with the dragon than they are with, I don't know, a piece of Achaemenid. I don't know. I mean, it's not likely going to be the case, but let's say that they are. You have to keep in mind that dragon has a lower threshold of refining. It's not until the dragon is converted to Aries that it has that same level of refining, the maximum capacity of your refining stats. Then they will become equal. But right now, as dragon gear, even if the stats somehow work out to be higher, you have to keep in mind that there will be refining done after. So dragon gear and king's gear will have lower thresholds of refining than Aries and Achaemenid, which are also lower than the thresholds that are provided by civilization gear. So do keep that in mind, because that is not included in this general gear planner. Okay, what else can we talk about here? We should probably get into an actual example. Let's do an example for a ranged attack general. So here's what I could do. If I'm attacking, I do not want this to be clicked, because that would be for wall or reinforcing general. If I'm attacking for ranged, I'm going to be picking something like, let's say I have Aries bow available, and I'm just going to put all these Aries things. I'm going to just put random Aries gear. Let's say I've got all my Aries unlocked, and I don't know what combination of Aries or civilization to do to maximize. So if I just put those Aries in, I can see that my ranged attack is 67, my defense is 22, my HP is 67. Those are the base buffs provided by those pieces of gear, unrefined, just as they are. I also have a 10% march size capacity increase, 45% march speed increase, and I've got some troop load and siege machine attack range. Great. All right, so that's where I'm starting. Now, I also know that there are different pieces of Aries gear that I could put on. Like I have Courageous Aries, but I also have Fearless Aries leg armor. So if I swap that, watch this ranged, and let's see if there's an increase or not. It looks like there's a decrease, an overall decrease. I have 67, 0, 67. So the Courageous Aries leg armor would definitely be the better choice here. I can mess around with this to increase. Oh, that Fearless Aries helmet looks like a better choice. Courageous Aries, let's try that to switch that to Fearless Aries. That's definitely better. And I'll change my Courageous to Fearless here. Doesn't really change, so I'm going to be looking at my buff reductions and other stats. Let's go back. I get a little troop load. None of the rest really seems to matter. There's a little bit more march speed there. I'll just leave that one on. And I have the Courageous to Fearless here. Nothing really changes for my ranged, but I do get some better debuffs, it looks like. So I'm going to go with the Fearless Aries, and then I'm going to go from, well, my Aries bow, there's no other option. So I have 6-piece Aries here for my ranged attack general, and it gets me 119 attack, 22 defense, and 119 HP with a little bit of debuff, so march size capacity and march speed. Now, I could change things around. I could put in other pieces of gear that I have available. Maybe I have the Achaemenid bow that I am crafting. If I put that on, that will actually be a decrease. I do get some more debuffs, but it looks like my Aries bow will be better for overall attack. Perhaps I have a piece of civilization gear and I want to see how that might impact. Let's say I have the Plantagenet armor. How will that change? Well, I've got a big increase there. So one thing to keep in mind is this does include the set bonuses. So even though here I have the 6-piece Aries bonus that would be provided, and it would lose that effect if I switch to my Plantagenet armor, I still have an overall increase. So that is better. I could also see, let's say I have different pieces of civilization gear and I don't know which generals to put them on necessarily. I have that and that. Maybe have this one. I can mess around with these things to see what my maximum buffs would be for the pieces that I have available. This is definitely a decrease over what I had before because I'm just picking random things. But if you are looking for very specific combinations or you want to see how things might be improved, well, there you go. Here's a great tool to get that done. Here's a more advanced example of how I might use the general gear planner. What I've done is I've taken a general that is in the top 5 on my server and I put in their gear. They're a siege attack general and they have the full 6-piece Abbas. Now, if I was this person and I had different pieces of civilization gear that is available because of new purchases or whatever, I could test around to see what would give me the best possible buffs if I swapped around some pieces. Let's say I have some high-end pieces, the high-end set, and I wanted to see which pieces I could put in here to maximize my siege machine. So the base unrefined buffs that I have for my siege machine right now are 130 attack, 65 defense, and 60 HP. But you'll also see there are a ton of enemy troop buff reductions. It's really good. So it's got a whole bunch of reductions in buffs for the enemy troops. I've also got a 15 siege machine attack range, which is awesome, 15% rally capacity, and I've got some march speed. So this general is pretty well outfitted with some great civilization gear. Now, if I wanted to switch around a couple pieces, maybe to get the 2-piece high-end set, I could test things to kind of see what would change in terms of buffs and debuffs and so on. So if I put the high-end Tachi, the weapon, I can see that there's an increase in attack. It goes up quite a bit. How much was that? So 180 right now. So it's a 50% attack increase. I do notice that I lose some debuffs over here, especially, which Siege Machine debuff. So I don't know if that's going to, like if the 50% attack is going to be better, because that is quite a decrease, but it might be. It might be. But let's say I do want to choose that weapon, okay? And I want to go through and see what other piece I could get for that 2-piece bonus and whether I could maximize my siege machine. So I can just go around here and I can test. Let me put in the high-end armor. Okay, that goes to 135, 70, and 100. So I get a bit more HP, tiny bit more defense, and my attack is it's not that great in comparison. So I don't like that piece being on there. High-end boots. Okay, the attack is still pretty good. HP goes up. Not terrible. I don't know if that's worth switching for the 6-piece though. Let's check out if I change this one. Some defense increase. The debuffs are still pretty excellent. Let's go back. Let's test this piece. The leg armor debuffs change a bit again, but oh, I get 220% attack. That's pretty sweet. Let's go back and test the final piece. Let's put on the high-end bracers, and that's 215, 60, 60, and some good debuffs. All right, so that's a rough idea. Now, I noticed that the leg armor and the ring are pretty solid, so I could also test here. The leg armor and the ring. And I get up to 205, 70, 30. But there's one thing that I'm watching for as well. I'm watching for my siege machine attack range. So I'm very hesitant on changing that out. So let's put that one back in. So I think the best combination, if I was going 2-piece high-end here with 4-piece Abbas, would be this one. I've got 220% attack, 70 defense, 30 HP. It's not a lot of HP. My HP has definitely gone down. And I've lost a little debuff. But what I could do is I could compare the 6-piece Abbas And I mean, if this wasn't a video, I'd probably have two side-by-side windows with different copies of the General Gear Planner so that I could be comparing them a little more directly. But this does give you an example of what you could do to test things with the pieces that you have available. Now let's take a quick look at what would happen if I switch to 6-piece high-end. So try to remember those numbers: 130, 65, 60, and then we have a pretty good spread of debuffs for Abbas. It's pretty solid for debuffing your enemy. But let's see what it would look like if I went 6-piece high-end. And I got that 6-piece bonus and all the other bonuses that I get, the 4-piece and the 2-piece as well. So let's switch all these out and see what happens. All right. Okay, so it looks like I get 220, 135, 135. That's definitely superior to what I had before. There's slightly less debuffing from the high-end set, but I also lose my 15% siege machine attack range. So let's say I want to, okay, I definitely want that siege attack range. So I'm going to change my ring. I'm going to go with Abbas. And now I could do the same thing. I could say I want 4-piece high-end and 2-piece Abbas. So I could switch things around to find the best combination. That's not going to be it. Maybe the armor. I think the armor was pretty good for Abbas. Yeah, that's really solid. Look at those numbers. 225, 110, 75. Let's switch it back and see if I can find something better. Okay, put in the boots. No, that's not better. Where's high-end? And let's change this one to Abbas, see if we can get it better. No. And my last test here, try this one out. 140, 110, 145. Not bad, some pretty good debuffs. But I think the superior choice was actually the weapon. Right? No, sorry. It was the armor. The armor is really good. Yeah, there I got some really, really good attack. My defense and HP are still quite high. Got some really good debuffs, and I still keep that siege machine attack range. So you could test things out in whatever way you want with whatever kind of equipment you have. I have everything in here from Kings all the way to nearly the newest civilization piece. The Sasania is not included, but it will be soon with version 3.1 when that thing is released. Thank you so much for watching this video and supporting the channel. If you liked what you saw, please consider hitting the like button and checking out other videos on the Miser's Guide to Evony. I'll see you in the next video.